Embryo dunes are the youngest sand dunes. They are the earliest stage in a dune's life. These dunes face the beach, and they're made up mostly of exposed sand. They're also the smallest dune stage, reaching just 1 to 2 metres in height. Embryo dunes are built up by a process called succession. That's when waves push the sand up onto the beach, then onshore winds, blowing faster than 4 metres per second, pick up and carry or push the sand around the coast. If these onshore winds hit any obstacles, whether they're natural or man-made, they deposit the sand, and larger sand grains are dropped in front of the obstacle and pushed up it, while smaller grains of sand are deposited behind the obstacle. As a result, the wind-facing side of the dune often has a gentle slope, while the sheltered side is much steeper. As this process continues, ridges of sand build up and they start to form a mini sand dune. The stronger the wind, the higher the dunes. And as the wind is always changing, embryo dunes are also always changing, growing and shifting at the front of the dune system. If the obstacles are made up of vegetative matter, they begin to decompose, and this adds nutrients to the sand. They also help trap water from rainfall or surface runoff and reduce temperature fluctuations. To give you an example, temperature fluctuations can range up to 25 degrees Celsius on the surface of the sand, but maybe as little as 7 degrees Celsius on the litter. The improved microhabitat allows germination of seeds washed up on the strand line to germinate, such as those of the frosted arash or the prickly saltwort. These pioneer species are highly adapted to survive in the harsh conditions. For example, prickly saltwort has thorn-like leaves to reduce its transpiration rate or the loss of water, and it can obtain most of its mineral ions from organic matter that washes up on the shore. However, these pioneer plants cannot cope with being buried too deep in the sand, and so as the dune grows, they become outcompeted by species like marram, couch or limegrass. These plants are hardy enough to withstand sand being blown on top of them, as well as the harsh sea spray, salty wind and the sun exposure. Marram grass has tightly curled leaves and a waxy outer layer to prevent it losing too much water. Also, the long rhizomes of these plants help to stabilise the dune and trap more sand, and then the process continues. It's really important for a dune system to have bare areas of free-moving sand, because as we've seen, the embryo dunes that form here support many specialist species. We're working to protect sand dunes by removing areas of thick vegetation, also by removing invasive species, because too much vegetation prevents these natural and dynamic processes by stabilising the soil, adding nutrients and creating more organic matter, which then allows even more plants to grow. Also, invasive species, those fast-growing plants that are not naturally found in this habitat, can cause a real problem in many sand dune systems because they outcompete the native specialists. These conservation interventions are important to ensure that conditions are suitable for the unique species that live on these embryo sand dunes.